Welcome to the Hard Rock Show. I'm Andrew. Details are at the bottom of your screen right now, so please do make sure you are following all of our social media channels. That'll be the best way to keep up to date with everything we're doing, as well as seeing new stuff coming up and also more of our archive content on those platforms too. So there's a lot coming up. Follow us, subscribe, all those things. You know what to do. Make sure you're following us on all of our social media platforms. We also have Patreon out there, so please search for us on Patreon because that's a great way to give us some direct support. If you'd like to help me keep doing more of what we're doing, then that'd be greatly appreciated. Any little bit counts, so just check us out, see if there's anything you like, and any support you can give us will be greatly appreciated, like I said. Tonight is a 2-hour episode, so strap yourselves in, get those drinks ready. It's time to have some fun. And for tonight's episode, the next 2 hours, we're going to have more archive footage for you. So we're going to go right through the vaults and dig out some stuff. That the aim is that for this 2-hour episode, apart from a little special thing I've got coming up later on, this will be never before seen content. So stuff's been sitting locked up on the hard drives for years, and it's the first time it's ever been aired in any way, shape or form. So hopefully you're going to enjoy this one tonight. Following this episode, about 12:30 in the morning, as this one's finished up, then we're going to have another THRS marathon. So stick around for some older episodes after we're done here. But now I'm going to kick things off. We're going to go back to 2015 with this. We're going to do a, as you can see from the photo there, the screenshot behind me, Dennis is doing a drunken review, which allows me to be very, very frustrated with him during this particular review. It's from our Alice Cooper special back in 2015. But before we go to that, because we can't play anything that's really relevant to that review afterward, we're going to play an Alice Cooper clip beforehand. And especially in these trying times, which hopefully you're all keeping as well as you possibly can out there, this song seems particularly fitting. So this is the latest from Alice Cooper, followed by an old review from 2015. Drink up, rock on, I'll be back. Those of you that were here for the filming got a special treat just before when our better halves took over the show. But for now, we're going to give you the real thing, and that is Alice Cooper with the Eyes of Alice Cooper. 13 tracks, 44 minutes, 23rd studio album. This was released in 2003, though, so there are still more to go in his career after this. This album marks a departure from the industrialised sound of his previous 2 releases and a return to more of his classic sound in some respects, I guess. You want to go first on this one?
I'm going fucking first. Fuck it.
I'll be quick.
Fuck them and fuck this.
Another group now, do you?
This is another Alice Cooper album I never bothered with. Not really a fan of the production, especially the guitar tone. I know you guys are both going to fucking hate on me for this. What? The style of music... The entire album, in my opinion, is immature.
Hang on, pot meat kettle here.
Yes, my name is Dennis, and I'm calling this immature. It has that early 2000s skate rock poppy feel.
If you followed his career, that makes sense.
It does not make any fucking sense. It
does make sense.
How the fuck does Alice Cooper go from sounding like Alice Cooper to Sum 41 and Good Charlotte?
He didn't. He made all this...
No. He went from exactly that because he's a shit at times.
You fucking idiot.
I cannot say that, can I? Fuck.
Get on with it.
That's the second time. Can you bleep that out?
Get on with it.
Keep going, we'll cut it in.
I absolutely cannot stand this album. I gave it a 2 out of 10. My standouts were This House is Haunted, and that's the only track that sounds remotely close to classic and dark Alice Cooper.
It'd be good if you could speak in something remotely close to the English language.
I know, right?
Jimmy, take over.
2003, Andrew. We're getting closer and closer.
86 years old,
Bloody
right?
oath. We're getting closer to modern
He just
times.
admitted it.
Yeah, The Eyes of Alice Cooper. It's more straight up rock for that time.
Yeah, for that time.
I had to put that in brackets. For that time. Very commercial pop rock in parts. So I'm getting where you're saying about this Sum 41.
It is time-stamped, but that's been his
Considering the guys,
penchant.
I never listened to those bands.
I don't even know those bands. But anyway, I've
See,
heard of them.
He doesn't even
but
have
I
an
don't know
opinion.
them. I've heard of them.
You heard
They're
of
shit.
them.
I know they're shit, so I didn't bother with them.
That's why you
at the
love
time.
this album. That makes sense, right?
Now, hang on. There's saxophones in this.
And you love that sort
I
of stuff.
love saxophones in rock music. I reckon they're great.
Wait, let's
And
get
there's
them,
gotta
put your hands
it's
up.
gotta
Saxophone
come back.
solos?
Saxophones in rock music.
Thank you.
is
Everyone here
bloody
loves
good.
it, so you can shut
Yeah,
up.
but it was done badly.
Shut up.
I guarantee you, I never promote my band, so I'm fucking promoting my band, right?
bullshit.
The next Sonic Circus release is going to have saxophone
And fade outs.
and
Vic,
fade outs.
Al, you are
Bloody
on
oath.
notice right now.
Vic, you are fucked, Vic.
Anyway, I really love that. I thought it was a really fun album. I know exactly where you're going with that now. Now that you spoke to me about that before everyone arrived tonight. I get you there, and I agree with you. But you know, it's
still
all
a
right.
flog.
It's all right. I like this album. Like
Come
if
on,
I
we
was
just
gonna,
got fucking neutered by
if I was going to rate this album, which of course I'm not, I would have given it a 7.5,
Okay.
What'd you give it?
an 8.
Oh, for fuck's
No,
sake.
7.5.
Shut up.
7.5.
All right, now I'm going to try and close this out in some reasonable fashion. As stated, this is much more of a return to his classic sound. The experimentation makes a comeback on this album, but not to the level of his earlier works. I've said it before, and I will say it again, and it's been said before by Jody as well. The man knows how to be a part of the times. His ability to morph is simply second to none.
That's what I've realised over all these albums.
He's like a
He's
Power
a
Ranger.
chameleon.
Great.
Power
Really
Ranger.
He's a chameleon. Fuck your Power Rangers
It's
in
like
the
a
arse.
Power Ranger.
Okay? Unfortunately for me personally, this period of time is marked as a dark time in music. The advent of bands like Smash Mouth, Green Day, and Everclear really spoil a lot of
Hey
things
now,
for me.
you're an all-star.
I will hit you.
Get the show
Shut
on.
up.
Get AIDS.
I hated this period of music,
to me.
and this
How's it going?
sort of influence on it makes this album hard for me to get a hold of. That said, while the start of the album leans that way, it feels like it's the means to get you sucked into the rest of the album, the meaty part, which is in the middle and the back end of the album. It's kind of like the whole, come into my pile, I said the spider to the fly kind of a thing.
What?
The back end of this album shines much brighter than the beginning, and that's where the more aggressive stuff and the more typical Alice Cooper stuff can be found. Mm-hmm. Lyrics are still second to none. I think he will go down as one of the greatest of all time in this regard. If there was ever a case of old meets new, relative to the period, of course, then this album, for him in that regard, is that. I think the title track... It's not the... Sorry. The
You
track...
said period.
The track between high school and old school really sums up exactly what this album was to him, and probably should have been the title track for the album in my mind. It's all there. This album, his album craft overall has not dropped away. From start to finish, his album craft is second to none as well. It's still him, it's still rock. I just prefer the back half of this album to the rest of the album. On another note, though, this could have some of the wittiest lyrics he's ever written. There are some funny moments on there.
Right.
Definitely.
7 out of 10. Bye Bye Baby. Spirits Rebellious. This House is Haunted. The song that didn't rhyme. That's hilarious. I love that track. And I'm So Angry at My Standards will give you a taste right now.
Yeah.
Welcome back. Coming up next for you, we're going to stay with content we did in 2015. This time around is from our Def Leppard special from that year. Now, I'm not entirely certain if I haven't released this one as a part of a previous recap episode before or not, but I don't think I have. So either way, this is very rarely seen. It's only been shown maybe once before, if ever. I don't think it has, though. But without any further ado, here's another look back at our Def Leppard special from a few years ago. We'll follow that up with a clip. Adrenalize, Def Leppard's 5th studio album released in March 1992 via Mercury and Bludgeon Refola. 10 tracks for 45 minutes produced by Mike Shipley and Def Leppard. The first album done by the band following the death of guitarist Steve Clark. Mutt Lange served as executive producer. This album debuted at number 1 on the US Billboard charts and peaked at number 1 on the UK albums chart between 1992 and 1993. They released 7 singles: Let's Get Rocked, Make Love Like a Man, Have You Ever Needed Someone So Bad, Stand Up, Kick Love Into Motion, Heaven Is, Tonight, and I Want to Touch You.
Wow. I didn't realise that.
Yep.
Hey, Dennis.
Anyone have any idea why they waited so long to release an album after Hysteria? Was it, you said they were touring? I think,
They toured it for like
fucking
3 years.
3 years?
Yeah.
Fuck, that's
They were on the road for a long time.
crazy. Yeah. If they released another album, like say if they released Adrenalize in '89, I reckon they would have been fucking untouchable, and they wouldn't have gone to shit, as we'll find out later. I've always loved the artwork for this album. The production is good, and the style basically just continues on from Hysteria, but the songs just aren't as good. 7.5 out of 10 stand out to Let's Get Rocked, Tonight, and Tear It Down.
Wow.
This is when any association with heavy metal comes to a complete end.
Yeah.
This is the band playing it safe, the type of pop rock feel-good stuff that was around the early 90s, just before grunge came around and everyone started popping Ritalin. There were some good songs, but this would be their worst album to date, and it feels like they're not even trying anymore.
Oh, wow.
They've reached their success and they're not pushing themselves. Let's Get Rocked would be the standout, and I give this 6 out of 10.
Yep. Definitely more poppy than Hysteria. The production it's still huge, but I don't think it was over the top as what Hysteria was. But they've well and truly made it one of the biggest bands in the world at that time. They could pretty much do whatever they wanted. The first 3 songs, Let's Get Rocked, Heaven Is, and Make Love Like a Man. You love those song titles, don't you, Wayne?
Like a
I mean,
mile.
they're just like, Let's Get Rocked, Heaven Is, and Make Love Like a Man. Okay. Killer songs. All of them are great. But then, after the 3rd song, I get bored with this album. And I reckon some of these songs sound very much like the songs on Hysteria that they were possibly rejected songs that they brought out for this album. Overall, it's too soft for my liking. They'd become a big cash cow for the record company as well, so they just wanted hits. They just wanted them to write hits, and this is kind of what they came up with. I think it affected the band. 6 out of 10.
So you guys are trying to tell me that a band that's just sold 25 million albums are going to play it safe? They can do whatever they want. They have carte blanche. I reckon with Mutt still pulling the strings over the top, they've gone with the same thing because this is Mutt Lang steering the band.
Well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Okay, dude. This band did not need to play it safe. They did what they wanted to do, but also with Mutt Lang, again, pulling the strings. We'll get to Slang shortly, and then you'll know why things changed at that point in time. This is actually more diverse than these guys are giving credit for. Genuine album craft kings all the way across the board for this band. There are great hits on this one again. They have knocked it out of the park, in my mind. This is a great album. I don't think... I mean... Even for me, I gave it a 9 out of 10. I picked Let's Get Rocked, White Lightning, which is toward the end, and She's Too Tough, which is the last track on the album, were my standout tracks. 2 not singles on there.
No.
The singles are fantastic, but I picked 2 tracks that aren't singles.
Interesting.
I reckon this album is it's not as good as Pyromania and Hysteria, but it sits right in between those two for my mind. If you'd have gone sort of Pyromania, then this, then Hysteria, it'd be a much better sort of order to things for the listener, but this album is up there with the rest of them, and I don't care what you think because it's my opinion, man. All right,
Jeez.
I've covered off what I wanted to say. We'll move along and give you a clue.
Relax, man.
Coming up next for you, we have a review that's taken from a very special episode that was also probably the latest we ever filmed anything at our old studio going back to 2016. This is completely unaired content. This is from our Motorhead special, so hopefully you'll enjoy this one. And again, we'll follow this up with a clip. We are Motorhead. No, we're not really, but that's the album title. And
I wish we were.
We're going to try.
15th studio album released in May 2000 via Steamhammer. This is
I'll try and drink as much.
38 minutes. Produced by the band with Bob Kulick and Bruce Bouet. It's a 3-piece again with Lemmy, Wizzo and Mickey D. This was released in competition with compilation albums of theirs released on other record labels at the same time. Get your head around that one. That's fucked up. Who wants to go first? Okay.
Okay. Really fucking good production on this album musically, but I would have liked Lemmy's vocals to be a lot louder. Some fast as fuck songs on We Are Motorhead, but mostly mid-tempo stuff. Like nothing slow, but you grow accustomed to Motorhead. It's like fucking fuck. But it's kind of mid-tempo. Very enjoyable.
I'm glad this is a visual medium.
I almost said the word I should not say.
I know.
It's a very enjoyable listen. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. My standouts were Stay Out of Jail. That is good advice.
Especially for you.
One More Fucking Time. Again, good advice. And We Are Motorhead, which we are not.
No.
Yeah. Back to a three-piece, the second album after Snake Bite Love, which we skipped.
Yep, didn't cover in this one, but I know that
this
certain
album-
people are unhappy about that.
Get over it. Who are you, a tribute band?
Ace of Spades are going to bash
Oh
us.
my god, anyway.
Whose
Bring the
fucking
spade.
coffee is that?
This album kicks off the new decade with a stripped-down, back-to-basics rock and roll album, done their way. Seems like getting back to a three-piece that's done them the world of good. Overall, nothing really jumps out at me for this album, but performances are good, songs are good, but I'd be grabbing Ace of Spades or Overkill before, or 1916 before this one, but still give it a 7 out of 10. See Me Burning, One More Fucking Time, and We Are Motorhead.
Well, the thing is, you wouldn't turn it off if
No,
you
you
heard it at a
wouldn't,
party.
no.
Yeah,
But
it wouldn't be the first one you grabbed.
No.
this is actually, for me, one of the really interesting albums in their catalogue. It's got a high tempo open, as is usual for this. The blues is there, it's all deep, more metallic in the tone overall. The production's very, very tight. Probably the tightest production style we've reviewed yet, but it still has good feel, though it is noticeable, that tightness. There is an effect from going back to a three-piece. It's hard to describe. It's not a bigger sound wall, but there's more space for them all to do their thing, and it works better for this band, I think. There are little things in the production side that bother me. It seems a bit uneven. The solos don't cut through enough. The drums need to be bigger, but it feels too tight. It loses the feel. Then they have a cover, which is the God Save the Queen cover, which comes about track 3 or 4 in the order of this. And from there, it's like the shackles just fall off and the band just goes. And all that sort of locking them down to a groove, or snapping to the grid, as we call it these days, is gone, and the band just goes for it. And from that point forward, it's a different album entirely. From there, the feel is back. The groove is there. The band thrives. It's fantastic. Pure awesome energy. I love the songs on this that flirt with the darkness. Their entire career has had that for me. Wake the Dead is this album's track for that. In the new metal era, when this is coming out, I love how they stuck to their fucking guns for this release, and that's fantastic. One More Fucking Time is a great song. Shows a heap of depth that I think is criminally underrated with this band. Perfect placement on the album as well. Then again, the energy kicks in. I like how they get angrier and more emotive overall as the years go by. They have much more to say, even though they were never shy to begin with. We Are Motorhead, that is a fucking anthem. It's just right, both musically and lyrically. This and We Are the Road Crew are kind of the two fundamental songs for this band, I reckon. This, like I said, this is a funny little album until the 4th track. The cover kicks in, the chains are off, and away you go. Great release with more to it than was given credit for. Diverse, honest, but it's all Motorhead. Considering how long the band had been going by this point in time in the changing musical era and the lineups and all sort of stuff, it's great they released this, and the anthem at the end kind of explains why. This is a fuck you kind of an album, and I love that about it. 8.5 out of 10. God Save the Queen's a great cover. Out to Lunch, Wake the Dead, One More Fucking Time, Stage Fright / Crash and Burn, and We Are Motorhead are the ones I picked. We'll give you a taste right now. Well, Caesar decides to get involved in things. Coming up next for you, we have a review that hasn't been aired yet, that came from one of those times when we like to play Dress Up. Before I get stuck into that, I want to say a very special thank you to our wonderful sponsors, Squid Ink Screen Printing, Alt Cult, and Rockstar Finance. Please do check them out and support those that support us. But now it's on to one of those ones, like I said, where we play Dress Up. This is from our Halloween special in 2016. And this is a review of a Wednesday 13 album that was done at the very, very end of the night, was intended to be purely bonus content, and may have been the beginning of something of an obsession for Dave as well. Without any further ado, here's that review, and we'll follow it up with a clip. Final review, we're at the end. Wednesday 13 with Transylvania 90210, Songs of Death, Dying, and the Dead. 14 tracks for 52 minutes. First studio album from Wednesday 13 since Murder Dolls went on hiatus in 2004. Released April 2005 by Roadrunner. Engineered and mixed by Jamie Hoover and Colin Richardson. 2 singles will be released, I Walked with a Zombie and Bad Things. Almost everything on this has references to horror culture in some way. Who wants to go first?
Oh, well.
Okay.
Transylvania 90210, Songs of Death, Dying, and the Dead. Seriously, Horror and everything that comes under this banner has a very fine line between clever, witty, and creative, and just lame, try-hard bullshit. Transylvania, ooh, fucking vampires. 90210, fuck, teeny bop fucking shit show. And of course, Death, Dying, and the Dead. Just trying to cram as much possible into the album title, and it's overdone. Alice Cooper never pushed what was evil about his characters, so after reading this title, I didn't expect much. Then I listened to it. Surprisingly, it wasn't too bad. In fact, this could easily grow on me with a few more listens. I know I would have absolutely loved this when I was 16. The band themselves are good at what they do, the songs have some good hooks, and the singer fits the horror style perfectly. Credits to the band for using the guitar to create the atmosphere you would get on an old horror movie. The track House by the Cemetery has a rotor vibe effect and really gives that really creepy atmosphere. Once you get over the fact that this isn't a rock band playing rock music, but rather performers creating atmospheric horror, then it kind of makes more sense. It's theatre transferred into music.
It's kind of like Rocky Horror Picture Show a little bit.
Yeah, but that sucks shit anyway.
Oh, wow.
I fucking
That's
hate that
going to
shit.
get you slammed by more than a few people, I reckon.
Yeah, including Julia. She's going to kill me for that one. She loves it.
She's hit you, hasn't she?
Yeah, you hit me.
Twice.
I'm sleeping on the couch now. Aren't I? It may not be executed with as much class as Alice Cooper has, but we shouldn't be taking this shit too seriously anyway. Perhaps I'm just preconditioned to hate this because I've heard so much music over the years. Standards are high, but as Michael Jackson would say, that's ignorant. That's ignorant.
That's ignorant.
Stop it.
That's ignorant.
Oh, no.
That's funny.
Really, Jimmy? Did you find that amusing, did you?
I did. I got it after a while and it was really funny. That's ignorant. Oh, no. Sorry, Dave.
Okay.
Straight to YouTube.
Yep. I know that the band will find us and they'll kill us. They'll put us in one of those scary movies.
There will be Songs of Death, Dying, and the Dead, Volume 2.
Yep. I know I started out like I was going to tear this album to shreds, but actually, the more I listen to it, the more I like it. Standouts would be Look What the Bats Dragged In, House by the Cemetery, Haunt Me, Elect Death for President, Ghost of Vincent Price, and they gave it 7.5 out of 10. Bit cheesy, but cool cheesy.
So far, this album is most suited to this episode, I think, with the horror themes. Some of the
Are you
music...
serious? This is the single most suited album to this episode.
I think so, yep. I do. Maybe
We
Rob
reviewed
Zombie.
a band called Halloween.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like...
I would put...
I'm talking about with this shit.
Typo, Alice,
You know,
or
this stuff.
Rob Zombie.
This,
Yeah, Rob
pretend-
Zombie, I'd put.
No. Anyway, some of the
He
music...
sampled horror movies, and you think that that's...
You'll get your turn in a minute.
He'll put a voodoo curse on you, man.
Some of the
Fucking
music...
spider back on his head in a minute.
That's ignorant.
This is going to YouTube.
So much for high standards.
Right,
It's always the last fucking one.
Yeah. Some of the music on this is pretty cool, and the vocals, they do suit this style of music, I thought. It reminds me of Alice Cooper for sure. The vocal delivery especially reminds me of Alice Cooper. I did get a bit bored as the album went along, mainly because the vocals started to sound the same to me on every song, so I did get bored. It's not as bad as I was expecting, that's for sure. Not really keen on the guitar sounds on this, Dennis. Overall, the production wasn't bad. But I
Do better next time.
didn't think much of the guitars. Not really my thing, but if you like the horror punk style, it's probably a must. You should check it out. It's all a bit too much of a modern day Alice Cooper rip-off, though, I thought, and I gave it a 7 out of 10.
It's not just the face on the trident.
You catch on quick, don't you?
I am Groot.
Say that. It's not bad at all. Who's next?
Who's next?
Me? Are you going last, eh? Oh my god.
We all know what that means.
Yeah, we know what that means. Alright. This is riff-driven hard rock with a dose of punk. Old school horror themes and influences all over it with some pretty cool lyrics. I've got to pay credit there. The raspy vocals add to the vibe and fits the songs, and they have good delivery in my opinion. They're a bit one-dimensional in the vocal delivery, but they suit the style overall. It's a little bit like Hell Yeah in some respects, I find.
Boring.
Guitar and vocals are clearly the driving force on this product. No doubting that at all. But the drums and the bass feel like the sound wall more than enough. Might be a little bit too thin or guitar focused at times, but it's only a little knock on it. Some of this does try too hard to be the whole edgy Marilyn Manson thing. That part of it I didn't like, where it's pushing the boundary a little bit too hard. And I think you had the same sort of critique, where it's trying a little bit too hard. It's disappointing because when it's good, it's really good. There are some parts that also feel a bit cheap to me. I don't know if anyone else got that feel about it being a little bit of a cheap listen or a cheap writing process. I don't know what it was. I'm not sure how to describe it. It's like things weren't sold enough in the delivery, or it's a combination of lyrics and poor effects. I don't know what it was, but it just felt underdone and doesn't quite come off at certain points. However, on the flip side, when it all clicks, it's really quite good, fun, and entertaining. It's hard to take it too seriously, but with this style of music, you're not meant to take it seriously. Lots of different shifts and sounds kept it interesting for the listener with relatively good album dynamics. Always going to be heavier overall, especially with those vocals, but it works well with the little dips in there as well. Doesn't come off as well as others do in this style. I will put others above this in the way they do it. However, being a little bit too one-dimensional, but it's still a good listen. Not sure how often it'll get a spin, but it's something you can put on the background now and then. Good fun, not the most original thing out there, but it does keep the spirit, which is important for this style of music. Does enough to make me curious, which is never a bad thing, so I will be going to look at some more of their stuff. 7.5 out of 10. Bad Things, House by the Cemetery, I Want You Dead, The Ghost of Vincent Price were my standouts. Go on, Dennis, let's bring it on.
It's equal.
Wow.
In anticipation.
Hold your horses.
Oh,
Or bin.
sorry.
I thought this sounded familiar to something else. Fucking Murder Dolls. Turns out it's that same guy. Turns out his name is also apparently Wednesday 13. Fuck off, dickhead. Get a real name. What a stupid name for a fucking person. That's not even real.
Here we go.
Not a fan of the music or production. Whoever chose this can get in the bin along with the album. But no, there was actually a Murder Dolls song I enjoyed that was like, twist my sister, or whatever the fuck it was like that. Not bad.
But not on this album.
Not bad, but not on this fucking album. So yeah.
That's it. That's the last review done. Check it out for yourselves and give us your thoughts. That'll be entertaining. Time to move forward a little bit and go to 2017. When we got to this special episode, this was one that was really highly requested, and I will eventually get to releasing the entire version of this online. I know that there are some of you out there that are desperately wanting it, but I will try and get to it as fast as I can. But without any further ado, here is a previously unseen review from our Rush special, I should say, from way back in 2017 on a very different set to the one we use now. Enjoy. Rush, Grace Under Pressure, 8 tracks, 39 minutes, 10th studio album from the Canadian three-piece consisting again of Lee, Lifeson and Pitt. Get used to it, it's not going anywhere. Produced by the band and Peter Henderson this time. Released April 84 via Anthem, Atlantic, Epic, Sony, Mercury and Vertigo. 4 singles were released, Distant Early Warning, Red Sector A and After Image. The album peaked at number 4 in Canada, number 5 in the UK, number 10 in the US, going silver in the UK and platinum in Canada and the US. The band apparently spent up to 14 hours a day in the studio perfecting this one. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, you go first.
You can hear a touch of reggae and ska on this album, I thought, Andrew. Heavy on the synth as well. This is very mid-80s sounding, which is perfect for the time because it was released in 1984, just like the other one that was great for the 70s because that was released in the 70s.
77.
77, yeah.
Wow.
For some reason, this album grabbed me more than the others so far, apart from 2012 or whatever it is, 2112.
2112.
Jesus.
Now, something definitely happened to Geddy Lee's voice between 1981 and 1984. Jeff and I spoke about this earlier. Something happened, right? Because it feels, and I think it sounds like Geddy is singing in a lower register for much of this album. And he sounds very different and more enjoyable to my ears.
The dog snoring.
Production is amazing. I love the guitar sound on this, Dennis. I don't know if you've commented on it, but I found...
Considering you're going first, it's going to be hard for him to comment on it.
Well, I'm waiting for his commentary. Definitely an album I'm going to revisit. I really like this album. I gave it a 9 out of 10. Distant Early Warning was my standout song, but I thought every song was great. Love this album.
Okay. Shorter songs, more laid back. I do question whether this does classify as rock.
Oh,
It seems a lot more pop to me. To me, the production sounds very sterile. The songs are clean and polished and just have no life. I'd seriously listen to U2 before this. 4 out of 10.
There's the door, mate.
Yeah.
There's the door.
4 out of 10. Red Sector A, Enemy
hell.
Within.
Them's fighting words, man.
I don't know if you're getting a year alive now.
Wow.
Whoa, that's harsh, man. Even for us, that's harsh.
Look out.
Never actually listened to this album in full, but I know a few of the songs. Production's fantastic, but most things in 1984 were fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Getty not singing as high as he usually does, like Jimmy said. The compositions on this are fucking amazing, and there are some very classic, catchy parts in the music, like the main synth riff in Red Sector A. That was fucking just classic. Really short songs on this one compared to other Rush albums, as would be a trend with later albums. Really polished and everything is captured perfectly, which definitely suits the band at this stage in their career. I love how the bass stands out, though, something that's always been a thing with Rush, but on this album, it's just fucking amazing. Good album, and I definitely need to listen to it more than I have. 8.5 out of 10. Standouts: A Distant Early Warning, After Image, Red Sector A, and Between the Wheels, and Dave, get the fuck out.
A different co-producer steps in, and things are a bit different from my take on things. The guitars and bass are more prominent on this record, which is what you were talking about.
Yep.
But the drums have taken a back step, and I didn't agree with that. Sonically, it's not as cohesive as their previous works. I didn't like the way the drums were represented. You got Neil Peart, one of the best drummers of all time, and they pushed him right fucking back. You can barely hear the bottom and top end of his drum sound at all, and it was fucking disappointing.
Wow.
I really didn't like that treatment given to him. It's like, you've got him. Why would you do that? You compare that to all the other albums, and the drums are there, balanced, and they just pushed him back. Pissed me off. Bigger, more contemporary 80s influence and feel on this. This one feels a little more straightforward as well. Musically and lyrically, it's all well written. This one steps out a little bit more than others have, but it does feel entirely like them still. This one has more of a genuine rock feel to it, in my opinion. Dave?
No, it sounded pop.
Yes, no.
It was terrible.
Go and get fucked. The production is good, but not nearly as in depth or lush and balanced as the past. That really takes something away from me. When they strip things back from certain elements, it didn't feel right from this band, and I didn't like what it did to the album.
Interesting.
It's much more of a traditional album. Perfect length, and the longest track is a little under 6 minutes. The overall feel, it's close to the mark, but not quite there for me. The writing, though, is solid stuff. The performances are all good. It's not a critique on the band per se, but the way it's been presented at the end of the day.
Okay.
Generally a much more up-tempo album, which is refreshing. I don't know what the hell you listen to, man. And the prog part of this is really well done. A few touches, a little bit of contemporary... like, I got contemporary 80s pop, but it wasn't the biggest influence. There were some touches of it, nothing more than that. But they've crept in on it, and it's not a negative for the band, it's just that hooks are leading the way on this one more
Dave
than
just
anything
hears
else.
what he wants to hear, like... He ignores the shit parts of Metallica, which are 90% of it, and focuses on the 10% good part.
Oh, here we go. Before we get way off topic,
Pop.
it's a good record, but I'm thrown off a little bite. Oh, God, here we go. It could well be due to the process of cramming them in succession that it put me off. It does hurt the process, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The music is great, the performances are fantastic. This just doesn't draw me in like previous records because the soundscape just simply doesn't do it justice.
Okay.
I think that's a big part of their appeal is how they sound, not just the music. It's the overall sound. 7.5 out of 10 though still. It's a good album. Red Sector A, The Enemy Within, Red Lenses and Between the Wheels. So I think you and I crossed over a bit on the choices there.
Yeah.
But check it out for yourselves and give us your thoughts while we put a gag in Dave's mouth.
Woo!
Hopefully you're enjoying this trip down memory lane once again. We'll have some different stuff coming up in the very near future. I know that tonight is mostly about previously unseen stuff. I'm going to change gears a little bit though at this point in time to revisit some stuff that hasn't been seen in a very, very long time. I think it might be online, but I'm not even 100% sure of that. Last weekend, as this goes to air, we were saddened here to find out about the passing of Jay from Dead Star Renegade. As a little bit of a background, Dead Star Renegade were probably the first Australian band to get behind what we were doing here at the Hard Rock Show way back in 2011. As a consequence of that, we got to know Dead Star Renegade pretty well, got to see them live numerous times, hang out with them in rehearsal rooms, do interviews with them, record live music with them, all sorts of stuff. So we had a a great deal of time spent with that band and everyone in it. And so to hear of Jay passing away suddenly was sad, and from all of us here at the Hard Rock Show, just want to pass on our sincere condolences, not only to his family, of course, but also to his friends and the bandmates that we knew really well. So Jimmy, Tim, Vic, Al, and the rest of the guys that ever played with Jay as well. It's a big loss, and yeah, we're terribly saddened to hear about it. So just from my recollection, he was a hell of a guy, a lot of fun to be around, and had a big heart of gold, and he'll be missed, I'm sure. Every moment we got to spend with him was not only a pleasure, but a true privilege. So in honor of that, we're going to go back to the very first time that Dead Star Renegade appeared on the show. So we're going to go back to a rehearsal room interview we did way back in 2012, I think this comes from, or 2012. And then that's his first appearance on the show, and then we're going to go to his final appearance on the show with a special performance with what was an unreleased song at the time in Princess Blues with Dead Star Renegade. So hopefully you enjoy these little bits and pieces as they come through, and indulge us this little bit of, I guess, in memoriam.
Okay, now a while ago we sat in a rehearsal room with a band called Dead Star Renegade, who we've talked about on the show quite a few times now.
Yep.
And we did an interview that goes for the better part of an hour.
Yep.
So we're going to play a little piece of that interview now.
Now, I will say in advance, you'll have to apologise for the edits and things like this. And this is back when we had the old camera and the lighting wasn't ideal. So we're aware of the quote-unquote not being the world's best quality. But it is still good. It came out really well. And just, be prepared. There's some edits. I've smoothed them out as much as I can. But there's a lot of work that goes into this one. So, guys, you know that you were there and you know what this was. So hopefully everyone enjoys it.
Yeah, so check it out. So how's the reception been for the album so far?
Pretty good. Really good. Surprising.
In terms of reviews and stuff, it's blown us away. Like the amount of positive feedback we've gotten from the album's just been great. You know, like every sort of review that we've gotten back so far has been pretty positive. You know, I'm waiting for that lemon to come along where someone just bags the crap out of it. But it hasn't happened yet, which is nice. But
overseas airplay.
Yeah, played on Northern Ireland, thanks to you guys. And Canada, New Zealand, France.
G'day, mate.
And so the reception's been
France,
really good. The reviews and stuff, and I'm exactly the same as him. Like we're waiting to get an email from someone going, I've reviewed your album, go and have a look, and it's got shut the polish.
You know you're doing well when that happens.
Well,
when you got people hating on you, that's when you're doing well, man.
That's exactly right.
Sales records.
That's amazing.
Right.
Well, there's no such thing as bad publicity. So.
From my point of view, if somebody hates it enough to really bag the crap out of it, then there's always going to be somebody else who loves it enough to rave about it. And that's the thing, is where we're getting a lot of great reviews, which is awesome, but you want that guy to turn around and go, this thing just stinks. So people who like it will stand up and stand up for it and kind of fight for it. So
really is that point in time.
Absolutely. So, but at the moment, we've gotten quite a few people, and maybe we're just giving it to the right people, you know. If we hand it out to all these people who are we already know are into our style of music, we're giving ourselves a pretty good chance to get a good review. But so
might find some death metal reviewers and start sending it off to them.
You guys seem quite happy to do all the work yourselves as well. Like you pretty much booked all your own gigs and self-released the album. And
I don't know if it's necessarily happy. I think
you're not afraid of the hard work that goes with it.
I think it's more that we know that it's inevitable, that's what you've got to do if you want to get out there and play to people and do it. If you sit around kind of going, let's come into rehearsal studio every week and write songs and hope that some magical fairy from Sony land comes along and whisks us away and takes us around the world, it's just not going to happen.
You got to put yourselves out there. No one's going to come and knock on the studio door.
That's it, exactly. And so we figure, the odds of picking up a decent record deal that's going to get you what you need to to do the marketing and the everything else that goes along with it all, and the odds of picking up a manager who's actually going to have your interests at heart and really get behind the band and help you do what you want to do, the odds are so slim that we sort of went, screw that, let's just do it ourselves. You know,
We'd love to have
and
someone.
Hell,
come
if
in
there's
and
anybody
bloody
out
help us
there
out,
who fits
that's
any of
for
those
sure.
categories, give us a
There's,
buzz.
you know, I spend more time at work doing band stuff than I do doing work. So, and that's
That's a good thing though. Technically, you're getting paid to do band stuff.
as long as I'm still getting paid and still got a job. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, I mean, it'd be great if someone came along, but you know, they've got to be the right person and all that sort of stuff, and have a bit of experience and knowledge. But yeah, if there is anyone out there, then contact us for sure. Good.
Some of you guys have families and stuff of your own now, so how do you balance your personal lives with the, obviously hectic schedule of trying to push an unsigned band out into the scene and all that sort of stuff? How do you guys balance the...
Delicately.
Yeah. Yeah, very delicately. You do.
That's the biggest challenge, actually.
I don't know.
Incriminating.
I think they.
Because everyone's in the same
Personally,
situation,
and
man. I mean,
and
you're
I'm not
always
look-
trying to balance out, what you sort of your home life with your work life, with your band life. It's like, you're living in. You don't have time. I mean, I don't have time because, I get back from work and I'm, straight away trying to practice.
Off to the gym.
Yeah, look at that.
Look at lifting his weights. Look at his guns. He's even got hairs on his neck.
No, you get back home, you got to work out your parts, you got to, run over the set, a couple of times and all that sort of stuff. And then you got to cook and all that stuff.
Clean.
But I'll say something. At first, I was a bit worried, knowing that these guys were married with young kids, and the other guitarist also had two really, really young kids, and I thought, oh man, I don't want to have to cancel a wicked bloody tour because they wanted to stay home with their kids, and all. But it has worked out so well, and I think their families are a lot more understanding than what I thought they would be, and they know that this is what they want to do, and I think they're sort of letting them. That's good, and if you're watching, Rel and Deb, love you.
We love you too.
And I love these blokes. We're all family now.
But I think also, like from that, following on from that, I think one of the important things that for me is to try to get them involved. Like one of the great things was when we played that acoustic gig.
Yeah. They came along.
The kids come along and they're all running around having a great time, and that was brilliant. That was a really good thing from our perspective.
High fives.
Yeah, high five and Jimmy and stuff. Yeah, it was great. But
Jimmy.
another Jimmy. But now, see, one of the things that we haven't done yet that we're now got on the cards and that is coming up is interstate shows and regional shows and all that sort of stuff. And the way that's probably the more difficult thing to handle. But what my plan is, at least for that sort of stuff, is to make it when we go away. It might not be very rock and roll, but when we go away on occasion to say to Adelaide or to Tassie or whatever, take the family with us.
That's what we want to try and do. I think.
Get all the kids together and they'll have a good time.
Yeah, Dumbo with Jay. Jay will play with them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it is a big extended family.
Good thing
anyway.
it probably helps you guys cope with being away from home a lot easier as well. So.
Totally.
It encourages the bond
That's
between
awesome.
you all as well.
It totally does. Makes
That'd
the
be
bond
great.
between the bands.
And that
stronger
actually
anyway.
affects the music that we put out as well. If you're in a good mood when you come to the studio, stuff just flows.
Yeah, for
The
sure.
riffs just come out.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So, just back onto Blackwing, what was it like to work with Ricky Ray as your producer?
Unreal.
Awesome.
Top bloke.
We love him.
Good on you, Ricky.
Yeah. Nah, it was great. He's
Love your hair, Ricky.
He's got a beard now. Have you seen his beard?
I have.
It's
He's looking very, very funky now, isn't he?
No, he's great.
He's
Nah,
mastered the look.
He kind of looks like the greatest American hero.
yeah. Put that in there.
Make sure he sees it.
Ricky was great. He's so easy. So easy to work.
believe it myself. Sorry.
So easy to work.
That's for you,
with.
Ricky.
So easy to work with. He's got this studio up in Riddles Creek, and
Beautiful
huge,
part.
big farm, sort of farmland. What do you call it, farmland? rolling hills,
Just acres of loveliness.
acres of and
Because of lovely.
you sit at his desk, at his missing desk, and he's got this massive window, and it just looks straight out onto this humongous hill. And we went for a couple of walks up there, and there's kangaroos up there, and it was just a really peaceful sort of place. And Ricky as a person is just really easygoing and great to work with. Like he'll
Straight away.
yeah,
Yeah.
we really hit it
It
off
was-
with him.
Top bloke. And he's not afraid to tell you
Yeah.
what he thinks and tell you how he thinks it should be, but he's also not. He's also approachable enough for you to, argue
Tell
the
him
point
how you
with
want
him
it,
or
yeah.
whatever, and you kind of bounce off each other and just a great bloke to work with. Yeah, really, I felt like he brought out the best out of all of us. Really.
Yeah, he
in
got
the way
really
that
good performances.
Yeah, he was able
Yeah.
to get
Being a
us to
drummer,
be
he
confident
busted
enough.
my balls, but I'd fucking bust my balls again for him.
Yeah.
That was It was fantastic. It was
So given the opportunity, you guys would work with him again.
oh yeah,
Bloody oath.
Yeah.
It's on the cards.
Yeah.
for
Have you
sure.
told him?
No. Ricky, it's on the cards. When we can muster up the money to do another album, and we've got some songs.
We're coming for you, William Cat.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, there's a lot of bands now that are sort of wanting to work with him. It's funny. Like, I've had a few people from other bands come up to me at gigs and stuff, and that have heard our album and said, tell us
had
about this guy.
A couple of people come up to us and express interest in working with him as well, based on your album and Electric Mary's album.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's what turned us onto
Yeah,
it in
it
the
was
first
Electric
place was
Mary.
the Electric Mary album. Who the hell did this album?
Yeah.
Sounds brilliant.
Yeah.
name's definitely getting out.
Yeah, it's good.
And then went back and had a look at some of his back catalogue and he's done
Tread.
Free State,
Free State.
Tread,
Mm.
and
Did he Free State?
My Secret Circus.
Yeah, he did that.
Bloody
Yeah.
all of those
He's
albums
doing Emperor
sound
next as
brilliant.
well.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
awesome too.
And I'm pretty sure that Sonny from Emperor,
Yeah.
Sonny
Yeah.
from Emperor, I'm pretty sure that was part of, like, he sort of said to us, who did your
Yeah,
album and
yeah,
stuff
he
like
did,
that,
yeah.
chased up Ricky.
That's
via
going to come
rap
up
as well,
awesome
so-
too. I reckon,
Yeah, I'm
'cause
looking forward to
they're
hearing
awesome.
that. They are, they're great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Laying open, used up and broken. She had spoken, last little rhyme. Lit up potions, set the tide in motion. She was hoping things had turned out fine. Black sun, black moon, burning in a silver spoon. Death inside a pretty tube. Potion for the princess blues. I was leaving, just couldn't stand the grieving. She stopped breathing, froze it all in time. But I was raging, guilt had got me caged in. But there's no saving the ones that choose to die. Oh, black sun.
silver spoon. Death inside a pretty tube. Oh, potion from the princess balloons. Every I was leaving, couldn't stand the grieving. I was leaving, couldn't stand the grieving. Black sun, black moon, burning in a silver spoon. Death inside a pretty tube. Oh, potion for the princess balloons. Yeah, black sun, black moon, burning in a silver spoon. Yeah, death inside a pretty tube. Oh, potion for the princess blues.
Changing gears yet again, we're going to go to the most recent of the pieces of content that are going to be making up a part, or being a part of this episode, and that is to go to a special bonus review that's never been seen anywhere before, that was taken from our Pantera special. Now, this is back when Mick joined the show in 2018. We threw him in the deep end with this special episode, and it was his introduction and everything. And then we did an awesome night at Whole Lotta Love with some great stuff which you've seen before, but then we also went back to our studio at the time and filmed some extra reviews there. So this is one of those. So without any further ado, here's a little bit of extra content from that. Pantera, great southern trendkill, 11 tracks, 53 minutes, the 8th studio of the American heavy metal band, released May 1996 by East West Records. Produced by Terry Date, 3 singles were released in Drag the Waters, Suicide Note and Floods, taking up number 4 in the US, number 17 in the UK, number 2 here in Australia. Eventually going platinum in the US while also remaining in the charts for over 16 weeks. This album really shows tensions within the band as Rex, Vinny and Dimebag recorded together at Chase and Jason Studios in Dallas, while Phil recorded his vocals alone at Trent Reznor's Nothing Studios in Louisiana. Brilliant.
I hadn't really listened to this album for a long time, and after sort of Far Beyond Driven, I went away from the band a bit to that period, which is why this one sort of passed me by a bit through that era. Yeah. And I really hadn't sat down and listened to it a long time, and even going through sort of this process, so it was interesting. But I found out that I really like this album. It really kind of took me by surprise. I wasn't really looking forward to reviewing this one until here we go. But I think this has got Far Beyond Driven well and truly covered. I think it's a really good album.
That was the same for me.
This one feels that it's a little bit more experimental with the guitar work. He's not going over the same old ground. He's actually trying new and interesting things.
More diverse record.
I actually think the songwriting in general is more diverse, more experimental, and more they were pushing boundaries.
Yeah,
you know.
And Dime really nails it. And they got their groove back on this one. There was a bit more. Yeah, a swing, I suppose, for lack of a better term. That was sort of missing. Like Far Beyond Driven was such a straight ahead assault.
Yeah,
you know, this one just kind of has a bit more of a groove back, and I really kind of dug it. The guitar solo on Floods is one of the most amazing guitar performances you'll ever hear.
That's good.
That is a great Pantera song, period.
It is. Like, it's just awesome. Phil's vocals sound like they're layered on this one, which they haven't done in the past, which actually works.
Yeah, it was a bit different.
It's a bit ominous and, you know, gave it a real sort of interesting sound I quite like. It's still a really heavy album. Don't get me wrong. It's not like they've gone away from that.
No, not at all.
But it feels a lot more inspired from a creative standpoint. If you like me and you did pass over it, check it out. You might be surprised. It's pretty awesome. I go with 8 out of 10. The highlights are Drag the Waters, 13 Steps to Nowhere, Flood, and Suicide Note Part 1.
Nice. I just pulled up the album for you if you wanted to.
No, that's cool.
References for you, so there you go.
For me, Great Southern Trendkill, I was right into this band at this point because Far Beyond was my favourite album, and I've touched on that in the past. So when this was coming around, I was like, absolutely going to go get it straight away. I remember putting it on the stereo, and I don't know what you guys were like, but when, you know, young teen, you had to crank it.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Like, without even knowing what was going to happen, you cranked every album you got, you know?
Exactly.
And the opener of this album.
Fuck, mate. Scared the fucking shit out of me, man. I loved it, but I was like, I did not expect that. I know it's not actually Phil. I think it's someone else.
Oh, okay.
If you look at, it's. I think Phil does part of it, but there's like 2 or 3 other people doing that scream at the same time. But how powerful and what a statement that is to an album. Again, I agree. They found their groove, a little bit of almost like bluesy elements. Like if you remember the breakdown to that song, that the riff at the end where it's just soloing, bum 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 bum. It's just really fun. It's almost like back to the earlier days, which with the 10 times better production. I felt this album.
Cover up.
I don't mind the snake or whatever it was. It works.
At least it wasn't done in crayon.
I think it might have been with a Polaroid. Actually, it was crazy. You know, Windows 95 was at its peak at that point.
True.
I thought they went for a more warmer, natural sound though. Nothing like when you go back to Far Beyond. That was a very triggered, very processed, very metal. This was more like plug in and let's grab a sound out of the room. I felt like we gave it more natural. If anything, I thought they overlaid Phil's vocals a little bit too much call and answer everywhere. You know, it didn't breathe enough. You know, like the screams, the overdubs of the screams are probably a little bit too much.
Probably,
but that's just nitpicking.
Over there as well.
Probably
pension for that too.
I didn't necessarily hate it because I think this is Phil at his peak vocally. Like he could do, whether you like, I know you said the pig squeals and all that kind of stuff wasn't your thing, but he nailed them.
I get it.
You know, like he was doing some crazy guttural in between lower ones and some really high, insane sort of screams, and it worked for the album. Like I was saying, like writing wise, it was kind of, we're just going to write songs. We're not going to concentrate on trying to be full on metal, and that's why you got Tens and Floods. But you still had the elements of Living Through Me, Suicide Note Part 2, where we're still a metal band. But we're just going to bring other elements in. And I thought it was a really well-rounded album to the point where it's like, okay, you got everything that they've done to this point. You know, you got some hollow sort of stuff, you got some fucking hostile sort of stuff, you got, and it was almost like a greatest hits album of new songs. You know?
It was the journey up to this point and it all came sort of full circle.
I thought it was. And this would be, one of my favourite Pantera albums.
I'm guilty of overlooking this one.
I think a lot of people did. I think because you got saturated with Pantera there for like 3 or 4 years, it's quite easy to lose one, you know, or sort of let one go through.
Well, metal kind of died a bit at that point. Like it, you know, as a genre,
as a media, style, didn't get love.
Standouts for me were 13 Steps. I love Suicide Note Part 2, Living Through Me, Hell's Wrath, and War Nerve were the ones I really liked. The only low light for me personally was Drag the Waters, only because I felt like they were trying to rewrite Walk.
That's my favourite song on the album.
You know, I just felt, you know, like that riff is too close to Walk, and it's almost like they're trying to get another hit. I didn't think they needed to do that at that point in time. But Floods is another fantastic song. I know you touched on it before. I really like this album. 9 out of 10.
Nice.
Really good album.
Cool. Well, this one certainly has more aggression. Like my opening statement on this one is more aggression. Check. The opening riff and scream set the tone immediately. This is intense. But that said, there is more space and emphasis on the groove again for this record than on Far Beyond Driven. Lyrically, though, Phil has been well and truly let off the leash. He had no one in the room with him apart from maybe Trent Reznor, and he's just going for it. Vocally, he matches that with some vicious intent. He's spitting venom here, which makes the cover art pretty damn fitting in a lot of respects. Musically, the composition is pretty damn good. Really interesting. It's groove-laden, and the music and the breakdowns in the songs, are well done. Some really cool playing with different rhythms on this record. Vocally, you can see why Seth Putnam of Anal had a guest spot on this one. Phil is really going for that death metal kind of a vibe here, and those two play off really interestingly against each other. More experimentation in the writing. There are some really diverse songs on this one, which makes it more interesting to listen to for me than the previous record. track order is really, really well thought out in that regard as well. The whole album is more melodic, but also heavier than the last in a lot of respects. The further drop in guitar tuning is used well on this one. Some serious use of emotion, which is a surprise. And for me, Dimebag's solo work shines in that regard because there's a lot of real feel in that work for me.
Yeah, going back to earlier albums,
Yeah.
you know, well, you didn't get that for a couple of albums.
Yeah. He's just back to playing again, and that's what it sort of feels like to me.
Yeah.
Production's really good. I'd love to know how this is put together out of the two studios in separate camps, because back then we didn't have Dropbox. So, you know, I'd love to know, and just I would love to have been a fly on the wall to see the reaction from the different camps when they heard the things for the first time. So when the band got to hear Phil's vocals, and when Phil was listening to the first time he saw heard the music sent through, it was like, fuck, it'd be cool. The double tracking and layering of Phil's vocals add a more demonic element as well, and it also brings some heart though to it at the same time. It wasn't all just anger and aggression. There was some depth to this. Yeah. The 1-2 punch of Suicide Note Parts 1 and 2 pretty much sum up the album in a nutshell. Beauty and brutality brought together in one hell of an entertaining train wreck. I love how the southern feel gets brought back a little bit in this part of the album. The fact they've done another epic on this is fantastic as well. It's good to have shifted things a bit more after the last one. It works better for me. The layering of the singing vocals with spoken word call and response moments is fantastic. For how intense this is, it's a pretty mature record. The writing is fantastic. This thing just builds, and the guitar work is amazing, as is the Storm Foley work on this. That moment where that kicks in was really cool. The aggression makes more sense this time around. Like, I got Far Beyond Driven, but this time around it makes more sense. I can handle it when it makes sense, and this one it clicked for me. It doesn't meander. It just gets to the point. It has purpose, and it drags you in much better. The groove and swagger help that element along for this. While more aggressive than I usually prefer, this record, like I said, it makes sense, and it's more of a return to what I liked than what the previous album was. You can hear a bit more of the Sabbath influence, just a touch. It's underneath of it all. I don't know what it might be in Rex's bass playing something, but there was something there that was just a bit more Sabbathy. 8.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed this one. Floods, 10s, The Great Southern Trendkill, and Suicide Notes Part 1 and 2 were my standouts. Check it out for yourselves. Let us know what you think. We always like dressing up for Halloween, and we also especially like dressing up and decorating the set for Christmas. So while it's not really fitting for this time of year, it is sort of a Christmas in July kind of effect, where we are going to be moving into doing something now from our Christmas special from 2016. It's another bit of content that's never been seen before anywhere else. It was one of those ones where we sort of threw it in on the fly, and we're going to be talking about a band called Psychostick in this review. We'll follow that up with a clip that's not related to that release in particular, but it is still fitting from the band for that release, so enjoy. Psychostick, yes, you heard that correctly. The flesh-eating roller skate holiday joyride.
That's the name of the album.
That is the name. 8 tracks for 19 minutes. A holiday album from this comic US 4-piece. Dave's making notes on the fly. I'm worried about that. Released September 2007 via Rock Ridge Music. Self-produced, this album has peaked at number 18 on the Billboard Top Holiday Albums.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I'm not kidding. That's a fact. This is the final release with Mike Kostian on bass. This is original content with some little mini tracks thrown in there. And here we finally have the anti-holiday album. That's what this is. This is why Dennis likes it so fucking much. If you're not into more industrial or sort of more gent-based kind of music, you're not going to enjoy this one. But the lyrics are what make this one fucking fun. And it's hilarious to listen to those things. This is the funny release. I know we had the fun with Twisted Sister, but this is the one that's just really taking the piss and actually having a shot at everyone they can along the way. You have to have a darker sense of humour to appreciate it.
Yeah.
You have to. But if you've got that, this is fucking hilarious. And I loved it. The little mini tracks are fucking great. They really... It's an 18-minute...
skits, yeah.
Yeah, it's just stupid. But the one where he goes... The drum beat one?
Yeah,
that's
it's like,
fucking gold.
It's like, play a metal beat. That's a hardcore beat. Oh, no, this is a hardcore beat. This is the metal beat. I stand corrected.
And that's the track.
That's a fucking track.
It's like 30 seconds worth of just bullshit. It's hilarious. This is more industrial than anything else musically, but it's fun. It's a really dumb listen, but It's just blasting metal, and if you've got that darker side of things, or if you're a bit of a Grinch, this is one for you. 8 out of 10. Holiday Hate and Jolly Old Sadist.
You actually liked it.
Yeah.
That's awesome, Dave.
Yeah. I had the title written as Flesh-Eating Roller Skate Holiday Joy. I didn't have the ride bit, so my first thing was, what the fuck does that even mean? During Andrew's introduction, I quickly wrote down ride, and now it makes a hell of a lot more sense.
Come on, join the joy ride.
Hey, they should cover that.
What a band.
Much better than me.
Now Jim's going to go on a whole
Rock
fucking
set were bloody
tangent.
awesome. I don't care what anyone says.
Fuck yeah.
Fucking great rock set. Love them. Anyway, sorry.
Heavy, dark metal piss take on Christmas tunes, not to be taken too seriously. Kind of defiles Christmas, so it's not really for me. I like Christmas. It's fucking fun. I gave it 2 eggnogs.
2 eggnogs.
And you talk about defiling Christmas. Well done.
Yeah. I think I defiled it with that Rob Halford one.
Turning things up a notch in terms of heaviness and comedy. This is definitely a breath of fresh air after listening to all the other albums. I have heard this before once. I'm a fan of Psychostick, but this is my least listened to album by them. Original songs and piss-take skits on actual Christmas carols, mixing it up with down-tuned heavy guitars, grooves, funny as fuck lyrics, and good production. Definitely not for everyone, Dave. No. But fuck, it's enjoyable. The bass lines are 100% the best thing about this and about the band. Like, listen to Psychostick. They have a song called Because Boobs.
That's why Dennis likes them so damn much.
Fucking 8 out of 10 as well.
Jimmy?
I haven't heard the album, unfortunately, but I do know a bit about Psychostick because Dennis just raves about them all the time. Been raving about it for months. So I know that it would be funny. And I know
this is your review in anticipation of listening to.
Yeah, and I know that the dude would be wearing that thing on his head with all the pens.
The spike cap.
And the other guy has the moose helmet on too. Don't worry, that's
the other guy would be wearing the moose helmet. So this would be funny.
The singer shakes his ass. You like that part a lot.
I would like that part a lot, of course. But I will check this album out. I'm sure it's very good. And what's it about? Is it Christmas carols or is it?
No, it's anti-Christmas. So they take the piss out of the Black Friday sales and all that sort of stuff.
Oh, well, that's good. Yeah, so I'm sure, I know I'm going to enjoy it, and I'll give it a 5.
For an album you've not even heard. What the actual fuck? Well, he fucking goes and gets some black lung out of the chimney. We'll move on. Check that for yourselves and give us your thoughts. Getting toward the end of this special 2-hour episode, which is a bit of a trip down memory lane. Stick around after this one, though, for a marathon of other older stuff coming up. But for now, we have one more review to get through, which is taken from 2016. Well, Caesar waltzes through. So for those that are fans of Scorpions, here's one for you that we've never released before anywhere. So here's a review and a bit of a music video from Scorpions, and then we'll come back. Scorpions, Animal Magnetism, 10 tracks for 44 minutes with the bonus track edition. 7th studio album from the German 5-piece. An unchanged lineup again goes into this one, and again was produced by Dieter Dierks. Released via Harvest, EMI and Mercury in March 1980. This one had the largest amount of additional musicians seen yet on the track Lady Starlight. Would peak at number 52 in the US, number 23 in the UK. 4 singles will be released: Lady Starlight, Make It Real, The Zoo, and Hey You. This album once again gained some controversy around the cover art for whatever reason, because I don't fucking know on this one. Yet this time around, no alternative cover would be produced, thank you for that. The album was certified gold in 1984 and platinum in 1991. Jimmy.
Wow, okay.
You didn't know that, did you?
1980 comes along and Scorpions now know their sound and style, and they seem to have the right lineup, Andrew. But whereas Love Drive was a real kick-the-door-in moment, I felt for them, this album tends to be quite hit and miss for me. The song Falling in Love, the beginning of the song, is eerily similar to Top of the World off Van Halen's 1991 album For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, or Fuck, as it's called. We can say that on this show.
In case you haven't noticed by now, people. It's only been going for 4 years plus.
The Zoo is really the only classic song here, I thought. This album feels mainly like filler songs to me. I did get a little bit bored with it. I was really disappointed after such a great album before that with Love Drive. that they brought this out. It just didn't do it for me. I gave it a 2 out of 10.
Fuck. Really?
Mine's a little bit better than that. This is a good, solid rock album. It isn't seeking to change anything or to push the band into any new territory. I don't think it would have won them any new fans at the time, but for anyone who was already a fan, they would have enjoyed it. The early 80s brought a lot of change. Thankfully, it hasn't altered the Scorpions' direction. In terms of lyrics, the first few songs in the album are very simple, to say the least. To be honest, they're pretty unremarkable. But from about halfway on, it shifts into a whole other gear. Lady Starlight being a great ballad. And for a ballad to be the first song that grabs your attention on the Scorpions album, it says a lot about the songs before it. Falling in Love, the song sounds a little bit like a hybrid between Thin Lizzy, Judas Priest and Warrant. The band sounds great. As always, the guitar tone's awesome. Just half the songs are average, the other half are great. It would have been a great EP. Not their best release, but still melodic, riff-driven rock and roll. Stand out to Lady Starlight. Keeps almost saying Stardust. Falling in Love, Only a Man, The Zoo, and a 7 out of 10.
What the fuck is Nala doing? She's destroying the set. Anyway, she's looking for burgers.
So am I.
You always are. It's the quest for you.
I haven't listened to this nearly enough times as I should have in the past. The band was definitely weird, that's for sure. In the mid-70s, they finally found a style that worked for them, and then at the end of the decade, they changed it up again with Love Drive, and that change continued into this album. They became somewhat softer. They were still a hard rock band with heavy metal influences, but they definitely became more radio-friendly, especially with the ballads and more, dare I say, poppier material. It's just fun hard rock with arguably the heaviest song on the album, The Zoo, also being one of their most iconic songs ever. Gave it an 8 out of 10, standouts with The Zoo, Only a Man, and the title track.
Well, allow me to retort. It was always going to be hard to follow up Love Drive. Let's say that from the start. This again had great riffs and solos, while fucking hell, Youngie keeps walking into walls now. It's all happening here.
I think he might be on meth.
He's on fire.
That's a big inside joke in here. This is, in my opinion, at the start at least, a bit ballsier than the previous album. It still has that very close metal sound and feel for me. It changes more into a rock groove as things go along. What? Okay, she's almost sitting on a guitar. Anyway, I've got to give a special nod to the bass on this release. That had great groove and feel, and I love the tone that was captured with it. The whole performance there brings a lot to this album. Really important considering the thinness of the overall sound and the production. That said, I'm not sure what happened to the production on this release. It feels thinner, not as rich. I'm not sure if they've deliberately tried to strip it back. When they give it a nice, rich texture, I think it really works in their favour, and I don't know why they didn't do that as much on this release. I thought there was good album structure, right songs in the right place. This album is also something of a grower. It gets better the deeper you go, which is probably similar to what you were saying. The further into it you are, the better it gets.
The second half's way better.
Yeah. Lady Starlight, a perfectly placed track. The use of peaks, troughs and dynamics on album craft can't be faulted with this band in general. Jody's obviously back. Now, I think Peebo Bryson should thank this band and the mid-guitar part in Lady Starlight. If anyone knows what I'm talking about, check it out. That song, though overall well written and performed, tends to suck the life out of the album a bit for me. I think that this album, while not as good as the previous one, has more debt owed to it from artists as an influence. Reckon Def Leppard owe them a thank you too. Look at Promises. Again, the growth of the vocal performance is great. The lack of harmonies on this one, though, was disappointing. The lyrics are strong again. Early troubles in that regard are gone now. Some really great groove and probably the best hooks yet on this album, in my opinion. The Zoo has probably the best use of experimentation yet, in my opinion. That's really well done, adds to the overall diversity of this band from their career path from start to finish right now. It's all on in the background over there. Feeling this is going straight to the online content. The ballads aren't as strong on this one, but overall it doesn't hurt the album. Different vibes on this do make it a good, solid listen, in my opinion. Well written and well crafted. Not quite as strong as the previous album, but a good follow-up. That I get where you might lose focus in sort of the track 2, 3, 4 kind of mark, but I think the start and from that midpoint or track 6 onward, it kicks ass, in my opinion. I loved it. The bonus track, Hey You, once again shows why Roth should not be allowed near a microphone.
Did he sing again?
He sang on that one, yeah. I gave it a 9 out of 10.
Wow.
Don't Make No Promises, 20th Century Man, Falling in Love, Only a Man, The Zoo, and Animal Magnetism. Check it out for yourselves and give us your thoughts. And that's it for this week. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Details, as always, are at the bottom of the screen. So please make sure you're following us on all of our social media channels. That's the best way to keep up to date with everything that we're doing. And you'll also be getting more new content and more archive content coming out on very soon now. It's also been gearing up in the editing process as we go through all this sort of stuff now. So yeah, we have that, and we also have Patreon. So please give us some support via Patreon if you'd be so kind. Just search for us via Patreon, and that way you can help me to keep this shit going that little bit longer and a little bit easier for us all. But I know it's trying times, so just whatever you can, have a look and see if there's anything there you feel like jumping on board with. Next week we've got more coming up, so we're not going anywhere. We've got more stuff to get through. We've got another year. I'm sort of mapping out how that sort of next 12 months kind of looks at the moment. So we're just going through a bit of a lag period while we get this stuff sorted out. Hopefully you're all keeping as well as you possibly can out there. I know it's very tough at the moment with everything going on, but look after yourselves, look after each other, and follow all of the appropriate health advice, please. Before we do go tonight, though, I do have one more clip to play, and then we'll roll to the credits. And then after the credits, stick around for a special blooper taken from our Scorpions episode as well. But the last clip I'm going to close out this week's 2-hour presentation with is one of the latest, from Melbourne band Cicada Stone. They have a new album, Cold Chamber, coming out later this year. And that's Ripper 2. I've fucking heard it. It's really, really good. If you like your grunge-inspired stuff, that's going to really hit the spot for you. So we're going to go with their latest, which is Dying in Sunshine, to close out the episode. And then stick around afterward for another marathon on Channel 31. We'll see you again next week. On behalf of all of us here at THRS, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, drink up, rock on.
And perhaps the cheesiest song title ever is also a standout. Born to Touch Your Feelings.
It's a shocking
That is
song
a
title.
horrible song title.
Oh, God. This comes across as a much...
Naughty boy.
Born to Touch Your Feelings.
I'm glad that song was not on the last album with that artwork.
Oh, shit. He's a woman, she's a man.
Very androgynous. Here we go. Now we're into it.
Right, this comes now. Born to Touch Your Feelings. When I read this song title, all types of fucked up shit went through my head.
You don't want to know, because we got...
Oh, yeah.
Then I heard it, and I started getting moist. Considering this song...
You weren't touching your feelings anymore, were you?
Considering this song is on an album called Taken by Force, I was left really confused. Okay, and it kind of reminded me of...
And aroused.
Wow.
Don't judge. And ultimately, it reminded me of Milhouse Van Hoosen's fucking song on The Simpsons.
Can I borrow a feeling?
Oh, yes.
I know.
Dignity.